All right, welcome everybody to the Wednesday team call, the 30-minute mentor series. I'm super excited. We have a special guest today, Z. But I'm going to go over a couple announcements real quick, and then I'll introduce her and then pass the time over to her. So I just want to give it a shout out to everybody that's on the call today live, and those of you that are going to watch the recording later. I know many of us are working full-time jobs and building this business part-time as something that's a part of our mission and our purpose. So I'm excited that you guys are here today. I'm going to give some recognition first to one of my brand new coaches, Desiree Glunt. She signed up just a week ago today. She signed up like an hour before the team call. She got on the team call. She didn't even do any coach training, and we got on the phone right after the team call. And I started asking her about her story. And remember, your story is, this is how my life was prior to Beachbody. This is how it's transformed or changed thanks to Beachbody, the products, programs, the business, the opportunity, the network of people, all of that aspect. And then number 3, this is why I'm a coach, like that deep reason behind why you do what you do. And so I was just asking her these questions as a brand new coach. And she shared with me like how Beachbody is the only way that she's ever been able to hold herself accountable to her workouts and to her nutrition, just having that accountability, knowing that people are watching her. And she shared with me, you know, she's barely getting back into her transformation. So there wasn't a big change yet right there. It's the beginning of the process, but she has goals to do that. And her husband is supporting her. And then we started talking about why this is important to her. And I shared with her some of the things about my life that were my struggles. And you know what happens when you do that? People open up and share theirs. And she was sharing about how it's hard for her, and because most times when she goes to fill up her gas tank, she doesn't have enough money to put gas in her gas tank. And so I thought it was very powerful that she had just spent that day $160 on her challenge pack, the faith and hope that she has in this opportunity. My role to help guide her, breathe that belief into her, and know that we've got to help her learn how to do this and how to share her story. And she was teared up telling this story about the gas, and she's a mother of 5. You know, we have 5 kids, so it's cool how you attract people like that in your life. And you know what? I was like, here's the thing. Like, you can do all the training in the world. There's thousands of videos. Everything you ever need is there. But if you just like call 5 friends, that's what I told her, or just go on Facebook Live. I encourage you to do both and share with people what you just shared with me. There will be some friends of yours, some people out there that they don't care what's in Shakeology. They don't care what they get with Beachbody On Demand. They just know you're a good person and they want to help you out, and they'll say, sign me up. I want to be a part of this with you. And you know what happened? In the last 6 days, she signed her first 2 coaches on a challenge pack. And she's at Success Club 4 and will be Emerald Coach tomorrow. And it was because training is good, right? That's why you're on this call. But she took action in sharing her story and inviting people on this journey with her. And that's where the magic happens in this business. And now she's excited. Her last message to me was, I got my new coach into the group, and we're excited to transform our lives. So remember that's the sole purpose of this. Okay, now the announcements. I went a little bit long on that, but I think it was a strong teaching point. Number 2, we have Super Saturday, April 7th, I believe it is the next Super Saturday. So mark that date off, like block it out on your calendar that is the day that you're going to your local Super Saturday event. Going to events are so crucial to building your business and your network. So April 7th, also don't just plan to go yourself, but start inviting your friends and family to come with you. Number 2, Coach Summit is June 21st through the 24th. It's in Indianapolis. There's going to be about 25,000 people. You get to hear and learn in workshops from the top coaches on what's working. There's going to be amazing keynote speakers and authors that are going to come teach and train as well. And you'll get to do workouts with Shanti, Chris Downing, Autumn Calabrese, everybody. And it's like one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life. So we want you to be there with the team. So start thinking about that. There's a discounted ticket until the end of January. January 31st is the last day for that. Also, if you're a new coach in your first 90 days, you get a discounted ticket. And also, if you hit Success Club 5 in your first 3 full months of being a coach, you get a free ticket to that. So if you're a new coach, I say buy your ticket and then earn the ticket, and they will refund you if you've purchased your ticket and then you earn it as a Success starter. So if you have questions about that, you know that you can always reach out to me and just ask. The last thing that I want to share with you guys about I'm going to get you guys on here so I can see you. The last announcement that I want to share with you guys is the Team Cup. Now, we just got our Team Cup all set up. I have myself and 4 of my personally sponsored coaches. We're ready to rock and roll and join this Team Cup. I'm just going to say this is one of those things where I'm not going to give you all the information on what it involves, what it is. You're just going to join a team. Doesn't matter if you're brand new or have been in the business like me for 7 years. Team Cup is a way for you to team up with 4 other individuals, mastermind, share ideas, challenge each other, and help as many people as possible in 1 month, and then you get cool prizes. That's it. And there's no way to win. There's no way to lose, really, because when you team up with somebody else, have that accountability, you're going to grow and you're going to help more people than you did had you gone about it by yourself. Cool story real quick about that. I'm a storyteller, by the way, is I got on a Team Cup in my end of my 2nd month. Back then, they were 2 months long. It's a month long right now. My coach, Lindsay Matway, asked me to be on a Team Cup. And you know what's cool? We were all brand new. It was Katie Hefner, Shay Stanford, Melanie Mitchell, and myself. And now we're all elite coaches and Million Club members 7 years later. So it's pretty cool to see that. Not just that we accomplished those things in the business, but we're all super good friends, and we built that friendship inside of that Team Cup. And the thing it did for me is my 1st month and 2nd month, I hit Success Club 10. That 3rd month in the Team Club, I hit Diamond and Success Club 36. And that's the highest I've ever done in Success Club. But what it did for me is instill that belief in me that success, if I could do 36 in 1 month, I could hit 10 every month. And so that's something that where just put a belief into me. So get on a Team Cup. Inside our team page, we have a post in the Team Dynasty page saying, hey, if you need a Team Cup, comment below, and then we'll just start pairing you guys up onto teams. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce our speaker today. Her name is Z. She's a brand new 5-star diamond. One thing I've been doing is it's important not for me and for you guys that we're always students in this journey because times are always changing and there's amazing individuals that come into the business that just have a new, fresh insight and they can teach us what's working. And that's what I saw in Z as I saw her get welcomed to the 5-star Diamond Above group inside of the company. She joined. One thing I love about her is she's fairly new into Beachbody and crushing it. So she joined as a challenger in 2015, and she became a coach 2 weeks after joining as a challenger. She has 30 months in Success Club. She's a 5-star diamond. And what I love is that she went from diamond coach to 5-star diamond in 2018. So in 2017. So as she started 2017, and tell me later, Z, if I got this right, she was a diamond coach at the beginning of 2017. At the end of 2017, as we came into 2018, she was a 5-star diamond. So that means she helped mentor 5 new diamond coaches last year. She's a 2018 elite coach. And cool thing is she was able to quit her corporate job of a 12-year career that she had after a year and a half of coaching to do this full time. So she was working a full-time corporate job, climbing that ladder, but building Beachbody on the side. And then she was able to replace that after a year and a half. Another thing that I love is that her spouse has recently jumped on board and is beginning to build the business as well. So I know she has some exciting things to teach us. The title of today's call is Working the Business While Working Full Time. And with that being said, I'm going to pass the time over to you, Zaina, and I'll unmute you.
Perfect.
You're ready. All yours.
Thank you so much, Scotty. I really appreciate that warm welcome. And hi, everyone. I shared with Scotty when we first jumped on that when I first started in the business, my husband, his real and the first person that he followed from Beachbody, he's like, you have to check this guy out. And so we've both been watching Scotty's trainings, just from the sidelines from pretty early on for us. And so when he reached out and asked me to do this call, I was so honored, and I immediately called my husband. I'm like, you won't believe who asked me to speak on his call. And this is also the first time I've ever spoken to a team that's not my own. So that's very exciting as well. And I thank you guys for having me. So Scotty, you got it all right. Yes, I've been a coach for 2.5 years. My 3-year anniversary will be in June. And I joined like a lot of people do. I had a corporate job. We were living in San Francisco at the time. and my job required a lot of travel. So I was commuting about an hour to an hour and a half every morning for work. And I had to be on the road by 6:15 in the morning, or else I was going to get stuck in traffic. And then I would almost always hit traffic on the way home. And that led to weight gain, as you know, most of the time when you have that kind of lifestyle, it can. I had a friend that I went to my very first job training with over 10 years ago on Facebook post about a challenge group. And I thought, you know, why not? I need something. I was engaged. I felt like I was going to be that bride that was going to walk down the aisle unhappy with how she looked. And so I joined the challenge group, and no one ever asked me to coach. I was never, you know, I never got that call of like, hey, you know, I think you should do this. I had friends at work that saw my containers. I kept taking them to work with me. I was taking my Shakeology. And my first friend that asked to join a challenge, I sent her to my coach. And I said, hey, go ahead and just purchase from her. And I actually decided to coach for a very strange reason, and I'm so glad it worked out. I decided to coach because I didn't like the date of my coach's next challenge group. It was just not going to work with my schedule. And I had like 5 other friends now at work that wanted to do what I was doing. And I thought, okay, well, if I run my own group, then I can pick my date. And that was it. I picked my challenge group date. I had, by the time we started, which was the next month, I went right into it. We had, I think it was like 7 people total. So it wasn't a very big group, but I am a little bit of a control freak, and controlling that date was very important to me. Yes, I did. I was just like, I want to do this my way. And it was also because I worked. So because my schedule was really tricky, I traveled a lot for work. It was very important to control that date. Became a coach, and similar to Scotty, my 3rd full month. So I became a coach in June. August was Team Cup, and I signed up, and to date, I've never been able to beat that Success Club number, which I'm not super proud of. It was SC39, and I'm still trying to beat it. But Team Cup was a huge, you know, just boost in my business, and I was, for the first time, realizing, okay, this could actually go somewhere. All right, so I really went back and I looked at the things that I did when I was working full-time, and I looked at what were some specific things I can give you that I did that I feel like got me to where I am today. I did end up leaving my corporate job exactly a year ago in November to do this full-time. And the very first thing I'm going to tell you is to let your full-time job be your fuel and not your excuse. One thing that I decided I was from the very beginning I was not going to do was to ever say out loud, well, I can't do this because I work full-time. The team that I joined, it just happened to be, you know, we each attract our tribe, and my coach was a stay-at-home mom. So a lot of the folks on her team were stay-at-home moms. And that excuse was so easy for me if I wanted to use it. Anytime I wanted to, it was right there. Like, okay, well, they're hitting Success Club, you know, I don't have to. But from day one, I told myself I'm not going to use that excuse, and I didn't. If I couldn't make a team call live, I would always catch the recording. I ran challenge groups from the very beginning, and it wasn't easy, guys. Like, I'm going to tell you, I'll talk a little bit more about sacrifice, but I promised myself I'll never speak those words out loud, that my job is my excuse. Because the minute I say it out loud, then I'm going to allow that to affect my business. Number 2, make sure your loved ones understand your goal. In the beginning, my goal was not actually to leave my corporate job. I really didn't understand the potential of Beachbody, but I did know that I wanted to do this because it helped me live a healthier life. And so I shared that goal. And then slowly, when I started to realize the potential, I shared that goal. And at the time, it was really mostly just my husband, my fiance. And being newly engaged, you know, that is the person that's the most important in my life. I needed him to be on board and to understand why this was important. There are going to be sacrifices if you go all in with this goal of, I want to build this business while working full time. And your significant other, whoever else is in your life that you love and you care about, has to be on board, or those sacrifices are going to be very hard to make. So number 3 is sacrifices. The first one, this one is one that you may or may not agree with, but I'm very passionate about, and that's television. If you're not hitting your goals and you're watching TV, you got to get rid of the television. It is a total waste of time. Not to say you can't add it back into your life later, but for me, there were specific things I would not watch because I knew I was going to love them. Like right now, I've earned the right to watch a couple shows, and This Is Us is something that I love. But had that been on 2 years ago, I would have never watched the first one because I knew I would love it, and it was going to take away from the very little time I had. I was driving really long hours to get to work, so my total daytime hours were very limited. So if I came home and I watched TV, that was going to hold me back from hitting my goal. And you just have to ask yourself, how badly do I want this? Yeah, see, you've got to cut that out. And I can see some of you guys are saying like you've cut it out for weeks. The second one, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive I saw this in a training from Scotty, and you talk about giving up sleep. Is that right? Yes. Okay. That was a really tough one for me because here I am living this healthy life and sleep is such a big part of it. And I remember hearing Scotty say this and I thought, I just have to suck it up and do it for the time being, right? And you have to realize these sacrifices are not permanent. So that was the other one. It was setting the alarm clock earlier in the morning. And I'm already an early riser. Like I told you guys, I was getting on the road at 6:15. So it meant even earlier. And it meant staying up late, and I am not a night owl. It also meant on the weekends waking up before my husband, because once he was awake, I wanted to spend time with him. So I had to beat him on the weekends. Now, that's one that I will tell you will pay you back tenfold. I am actually 15 weeks pregnant right now. And in the first trimester, I was dying, you guys. I was not feeling good. I could not wake up. And thank you. And I feel like I earned the right to sleep. The thing that I gave up, that I really hated giving up, now is something that I feel like I earned back when I needed it. Sacrifices. Not to say that there aren't going to be other ones, but for me, that's where a lot of that time came in that I was able to dedicate to Beachbody. Okay, number 4 is don't let your current job suffer. And I get coaches that want me to coach them on building this business. And the first thing they'll tell me is, I hate my job. I can't stand my job. How fast can I get out of it? And if you're constantly thinking about how much you hate your job, you're going to put all of your effort into Beachbody, and then you're going to fail in your job. And when your boss calls you in and says, hey, you're not performing, you're going to have to pick your job because it's paying the bills right now. So it's best to continue doing your job. Even if you dislike it, try to get those negative words out of your head. And one of my goals was, when I leave my corporate job, I want to leave on a positive note. And I did that. I did that actually to the point where a lot of my old coworkers are on my team today because I left very respectfully. So it's a tough one because it gets harder before it gets easier. At the very end, when my team was rocking and rolling and I still have my complete responsibilities in my corporate job, it does feel like, oh my gosh, I simply can't take any more on my plate. But that's how you know you're getting really close to that point where you can make that decision to leave. But until then, don't let your job suffer. All right, number 5 is don't quit too early. If you leave your corporate job too early and your finances aren't where they need to be, then you are going to build this business in panic mode. And you don't want to have to build this business with fear and panic being your driving forces. So make sure that when you do leave, you're in a solid position. And I feel like I've heard you say that before, Scotty, too. Number 6, be smart about your finances. If you can afford to, take your Beachbody money and put it in a separate account. So for me, I never joined Beachbody to make money. That wasn't my goal. I joined for my own health and fitness. When I first started making money, it was like, oh my gosh, this is great. What the heck? My first paycheck, I asked my coach, how much of this do I get to keep? Because I had zero expectation of making money. And even though, we could have easily spent it, we were living in San Francisco at the time and it was very expensive to live there. It was a decision of ours to put it in a separate bank account where we don't see it. And that ended up helping us out later on when I did leave my corporate job. So if you can, put that money aside. And if you can't, then somehow get a hold of your finances in other ways. Cut back where you can, make those sacrifices, because it will make it a lot easier when you do transition from that full-time corporate salary to Beachbody. Number 7 is have a set of non-negotiables. So I do get asked a lot, what were your hours? I heard on a national wake-up call once, there was a gal that was talking about pockets of power instead of a power hour. And I did do a lot of that. It wasn't necessarily just a power hour. There were pockets during the day, like my lunchtime I always work through, waking up early, but have set hours. The big ones for me, as I told you, were my weekends when I woke up before my husband. So my hours were non-negotiables, but there were a few other things on that list. And I urge you not to think, I'll do these things when I quit my job, because you're probably not. Put the habits in place today. And those non-negotiables for me were, I always listened to the team call, whether it was live or the recording, National Wake Up Call, Super Saturday, Success Club, every single team cup, every single summit from day one. That was my vacation time that I used, but it didn't matter. That was a non-negotiable on my list. Personal development, and then personally running a challenge group monthly. And to this day, I've never had a month without one. So even though I was working, I did not let myself fall into that trap of thinking I can't handle this. My personality, sometimes I like to back myself into a corner because then I have to follow through. So it was almost like, well, if I put a challenge group on the calendar and I announce it and I get these people in the group, then I have to show up. And it was the same thing with coach trainings and leading these team calls for my team. I did these all when I was still working. I'd put them on a calendar and then I got to get it done. I can't back out now. And number 8, this is the final one, is have a plan with dates. So decide when you want to leave your corporate job, but at the same time, be flexible. I had a very specific plan, and I'll tell you guys right now, it did not all go my way, and some of it went better. I actually did end up leaving. I left in November of 2016 is actually when I left. My goal was by January, so I left actually a little bit earlier than I had originally set out. But I had a lot of other things that I had to change my plan. Today, my husband is in pharmaceutical sales, and he's very successful at what he does, but he sees the vision of what we do here, and he has a set date, and that's 2 years from now, where he is going to retire from his career. And I've challenged him to do it himself. I mean, we're a partnership, but I want him to earn it, not just me building him up. And that's going to make us both stronger in the process. So that's his goal, is 2 years. Do we hope it happens faster? Absolutely. And it might take longer. So be flexible with that date, but make sure you pick one. Because if you blindly go into it with a goal of, I just want to quit my job, it's probably never going to happen, or it's going to happen a lot further ahead than you might want today. So that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. I just want to open it up now if you guys have any questions for me.
Okay, I love that. So if any of you guys have questions, please comment them in the chat. I'm just going to make a few comments of things that stood out to me while we wait for a question. Can you guys hear me? Okay, you're doing some weird, it gave me some weird note. A couple things I loved is that you were, surprised that you got paid that money. I remember getting out of my cubicle and walking over to my buddy that I did P90X with, who was my manager, and just showing him. I showed him like the amount that I had earned, and it was like I had put in like 90 hours and had like $49. And I was like, look at this. It's so crazy. Like, they're paying me to do this, because I had shared it with people for a year before. Like, I set up Amazon Associates, like tried all these things to try to like earn a little income by referring, because I was helping people. And like I sold like 30 protein powders of some sort of things I tried before I ever knew about Beachbody.
Uh-huh.
And I never got paid because I had to hit like a threshold of like $100. And like I was like, whoa, they actually paid me for the 2 sales that I did.
Yeah,
So,
my first check wasn't like huge or anything. It was
yeah.
just that I just really didn't have an expectation when I went into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to make money and I'm getting healthier. This is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and so I think it's important to remember that. You have to have that core foundation, that love for helping people and not expecting anything. Like every day I wake up and I say like, wow, this is incredible that Beachbody gives us this opportunity, to share, and they're giving up 25% of the commission to us. And it's pretty cool, I think. So let's see. I don't see any questions come through, so I have a question for you, Z.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been focusing a lot on the power of part-time. Like you built this part-time business while working full-time, and it got to the point, and I love that you talked about making sure that you're secure so you don't work out of fear and all of that once you leave, and being smart with your money. It's been like a year and 3 months since you left your job, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How is your life now compared to before?
That's a really good question. In some ways it's the same, and in some ways it's different. So, I was having lunch with my husband not long ago, and he made a comment and he said, it's so awesome because you can wake up when you want. And this was before, I was sharing the first trimester sickness. And I said, that's true, honey, but what time do I wake up? And he's like, 5 a.m. So in some ways I really do still treat it like my job. It is my job. I love what I do. But in others, I don't have to do those after hour sacrifices anymore. So I don't really work in the evenings anymore. I do get to spend that time with my husband. I don't have to wake up earlier on the weekends and put the time in before him because I do have all day. So it's gotten better in the sense where I don't feel like I'm sacrificing, but I still do treat it like a job. And I will say when you first make that transition, you realize you have the opportunity to waste a lot of time too. I almost feel there was a short amount of time where I was like, oh my gosh, I was more productive when I was working full time. And you have to get a lot stricter on your schedule when you do have a lot more time. I also don't have kids yet. So in my mind, it's like, okay, I have to be able to and then once the baby is here, I'm going to condense this into 3 days or 4 days, and I have that opportunity to do that, which I never would have been able to do working in corporate.
Yeah. I think it's so cool that you've taken this opportunity to build, this career or this calling with Beachbody where you could do it from home on your own schedule before ever having any kids.
Yes, I'm so lucky that it all worked out like that.
Because before with your husband in pharmaceuticals and you working your corporate job, it would have meant a baby at daycare.
Absolutely. That's what it would have meant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like I look at these, like I love hearing these stories. It's so cool. So I'll ask you one question from Jordan White.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll let you go. It says, how many hours did you put into Beachbody when you were still working? Would you say?
I wish I had logged it because I get that question a lot. I'll be honest with you guys. It was more than an hour a day. I was running challenge groups every single month. I didn't come for a team that had team calls like this regularly. My coach was still pretty new herself. And so all of these things I did myself. So it was more than an hour a day. I would probably say maybe 2 hours a day if I were to go back and really think about it. Because I was waking up, I was probably putting in about 40 minutes to an hour every morning, and then maybe about another 40 to an hour in the evening, and then on the weekends as well. I also decided I wanted to get PIO certified, so I started teaching that as well, which really actually did help boost my business a bit. I don't think coaches have to go get certified in programs to, succeed, but it did help me meet new people outside of my corporate world. So that isn't really business hours, but it was also, Beachbody time. But I will tell you guys, it was probably closer to 2 because with the challenge groups and the team trainings and all that kind of stuff, it started to add up. And remember this, it gets worse before it gets better, because as my team grew, now you have more obligations, you have more commitments, the challenge groups got bigger. And the last few months were really tough.
Yeah. As you mentioned that, so for example, I worked every night from like I worked my hour lunch break. I would do like 15 minutes before work in my challenge group, and then every night I did 8:30 to midnight. It started 8, like you said, it started 8 to 10, but as the team grew, like 5, 6, 7, 8 months in, and then from like my 8-month mark until I left my job was like 8 p.m. till like 12 in the morning.
Yeah, the end was definitely the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, it also is the best because you see how close you are.
The tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, right.
And I have one more question. Sorry, I said one more question before. So if you have, let's say you have 1 hour or you have 2 hours to fit in because you have family obligations, you have a full-time job, and then you have this Beachbody business, where does the majority of the time go? Because I know some people can hop on and be inside of a challenge group for 5 minutes or checking notifications back and forth. Like, where does the time need to be, do you feel?
Do you mean where does the time go in my Beachbody business?
Yeah, inside of that 1 or 2 hours, like what activities are the most important to build the business like you have?
Yeah, I would absolutely say the inviting process is a non-negotiable. So the recruiting and inviting to challenge groups, and that was my time, right? Like my challenge groups is what I give to people. And all of that stuff can be timed in advance. So prepping and planning on the weekends did save me quite a bit, like prepping my posts in advance, prepping my personal posts and my challenge groups. All of that stuff can be done in advance. But on a day-to-day basis, that the invites, the recruiting, building the business, that was a non-negotiable that had to happen before anything else. And I will say that's still the same today.
Yeah, inviting and recruiting, helping them get results in your challenge group. So Nick in the UK asks, where do you find your customers and your clients or your coaches?
Facebook has been the biggest one for me. And I'll share this with you guys too. I had to have a private Facebook and a private Instagram for the entire time I was working in corporate because I just really didn't. I worked for an HR company, super conservative. So it was all private, which you could also see as a challenge, but you just make it work. And so Facebook was the majority of it back then, about and I think Facebook back then also, it's starting to get a little bit trickier. I think Instagram's where a lot of my new coaches are spending their time, but for me, it was Facebook.
Okay, I have you here, so I'm asking you one more question.
I
won't say one more anymore. So you say using Facebook and it was private, like I understand that is much harder than when public. Because I use Facebook, but a lot of it came from, I do a good post or share something good, someone would share it, it's public profile so people find me and see that. Like that's how I found Brigitte Linford, if you saw mutual friends commenting on something that I did. So how do you start these conversations with these people with a private profile?
Right. So first of all, I started as a coach with about 200 friends on Facebook. So I had a very small following and I started just adding a ton of mutual friends. And I had the idea that if I give love, I'm going to get love. And so I would comment on other people's posts. I would, scope out their Facebook, just kind of learn about people. And then I never wanted to do the cold, hey, join my challenge group, but I did reach out to strangers every single day. And if anybody liked my post, it was, hey, it's so great to meet you. What do you do? This is what I'm so I would just learn about them, share what I'm passionate about, and start conversations with people. And I was able to build my following that way. Stuff now that I think we get a lot of training on. For me, I didn't have a lot of Facebook training, so I made all the mistakes in the beginning too, right? Like the posts that are cheesy and the posts that are all about Beachbody, here's my link, and then slowly started learning what's working and what's not working. But the invite specifically, I wouldn't say I actually sent a lot of cold, do you want to join my challenge group, to strangers. I did send all of those to my warm market. But when I was adding strangers and really increasing my following through mutual friends, it was just starting conversations to learn about people. And, I only friended women because you want to attract your tribe, right? And so I was reaching out to women in the same age group as me and meeting people through that channel. And I shared this with you, Scotty, and I don't want to open up a whole new thing, but last year is when I brought LinkedIn into it. And I think really understanding your tribe, my team is almost all corporate. Almost 90% of the folks on my team work full-time jobs in corporate. And so you'll end up attracting people like you, and those conversations are so much easier because you're talking about your similar backgrounds.
Okay, I like that. And I did say I wanted to learn a little bit about how you use LinkedIn, so I'll get with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My other question that I've been hearing a lot lately, or dealing with as I help people and mentor people, and it's sometimes good to get outside perspective, is how do you deal with this thought of, I don't want to reach out to my friends or even to a stranger or someone I'm just getting to meet and have them think I'm trying to sell them something.
Don't try to sell them something then. I genuinely was just talking to people. I mean, there are people that I've talked to for the longest time that I have built real relationships with that have never been my customer yet. And that's okay. You can't have that goal in your head be, I just want to sell something. If it's right for them and they know what you do, it's going to come up, or if the conversation goes there, or, if we do develop a friendship, then I can put it in front of you. But you can't message, in my opinion, your first message to someone cannot be with the goal of just selling them. And if you get that out of your head, then you're going to be genuine when you speak to someone. My goal is simply just to connect with people. There's been so many non-Beachbody benefits that I've gotten from connecting with people. And this is really super personal, so I hope you don't mind me sharing, but I did share this on my Facebook last year. My husband and I had a couple of miscarriages over the summer, and I was very open, and I ended up connecting with about 6 other women who were going through the same. The support that we've been able to give each other in the last few months as we all, deal with the journey, and, some of us are now, actually going through pregnancy and that type of stuff. I could care less if these people ever join me or not. Of course, some of them will. That's what happens naturally when you connect with people. But the benefit to me and to them has been so much greater. And when you really focus on what you can give to people and be of service to people, everything else will follow. And it's never failed me yet to have that approach.
I love it. Z, we got so many great tips and little nuggets from you today. So we're extremely grateful that you spent your time with us today. I'm up at my cabin with my little boy, so there's a fish on the wall, and there's animals and moose out there and stuff. And it reminds me of something that you just said right there, to help solidify what you're saying, is we got to move away from the get somebody type of mindset. It's like there's a difference between hunting and fishing. Hunting, you go out and stalk something and you go get it, right? In fishing, you just toss out the bait, something that attracts the fish, and you wait for it to come. They come get it because they want it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Scotty, what I didn't tell you guys too is my previous job was a corporate sales manager, and I was also a corporate sales trainer.
Oh, cool.
So I have a sales background, and I don't actually believe in going out there with this sales mentality at all. And that's not my approach. And so if I can tell, and I never liked to sell to friends and family when I worked in sales. So you really do. I love what you said about that it's not hunting. This is not a hunting role. And every time someone talks to me, because sometimes coaches are excited and they're like, how do I get her? I'm like, you've got to stop thinking like that.
Yeah. I love that. So thanks again, Tia. And for those of you that have coaches that couldn't make it on the call today, it's recorded. It'll be up on the YouTube channel. I'll put it in the team pages. And I want to let you guys know next week at the same time, 2 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock in the UK, we have Catalina Quintero on the team call. She's also a brand new 5-star diamond. So looking forward to see you guys next week. We have make sure you get registered for the Team Cup, and take what you learned from Z today and begin to apply it immediately. Okay, we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.